Tonight's guest has been in the public eye since she was 11 months old. When she was 12 years old, a shocked and dazzled world was introduced to her as the child prostitute in Pretty Baby. At the same time, she was in the midst of a fashion career that would take her to 300 magazine covers before she was 20. And for 4 consecutive years, she was the favorite young performer of the People's Choice Awards. In 2005, she was named one of the 20th century's 100 most beautiful women by Harper's and Queen. She has moved freely from films like Wanda Nevada, The Blue Lagoon, Endless Love, Brenda Starr, and Black and White, to theater in Grease, Cabaret, Chicago, and Wonderful Town, to television in an array of roles and appearances, and as the star of Suddenly Susan, which earned her 2 Golden Globe Best Actress nominations, and Lipstick Jungle. She is the author of 3 books, including On Your Own and the best-selling Down Came the Rain. The Actors Studio is very pleased to welcome Brooke Shields.
Wow, that was delightful. Thank you.
For the record, I want it noted that she's wearing 5-inch heels. Otherwise, I would tower over her.
You tower over me in personality.
No, I don't. In the interest of full disclosure, I met Brooke for the first time when she was 15 years old at West Point, where I was producing Bob Hope's birthday special. So I admit freely a bias toward this guest. Now, let's go back to a time not so long.
Don't make me cry. This is an opera.
It's a soap opera. So, let's go back to a time not so long before we met. Where were you born?
I was born in Manhattan.
What was your father's name?
Francis Alexander Shields. We called him Big Frank because he was 6'7".
Would you by any chance know what noble families you're descended from?
My grandmother, who was an Italian princess named Marina Torlonia.
Brooke Shields is descended through her grandmother from King Henry IV of France, Lucretia Borgia, the Medicis, and Prince Honoré I of Monaco. What a lineage, huh? Beats mine by a country mile. What is your mother's name?
Teresa Anna Lillian Schmann, and then she married my dad and became Terry Shields.
The famous Terry. I believe you were born about a year after your parents married, right?
No, actually, they conceived me, got married, had me, got divorced all in 1 year. It was a very busy year. Finally, I'm not legitimate.
Right.
It was very bad for my father because he was in the social register. And here's this woman from Newark, and she gets pregnant, and it was wrong side of the tracks. There was sort of discussion of having my mother not go through with this, and it was sort of like this big talk where you sort of sit down and you say, look, this isn't good for him, and so we think you should take care of the situation, and here's some cash. And she took it and bought a table, and here I am at the inside the Actors Studio.
Good for Terry. Good for Terry. Here's another unusual statistic. How old were you when you entered the professional world?
I was 11 months old.
And that was what?
I was the Ivory Soap baby, in ads, like handing the soap over to my fake mother. And then Ford Modeling Agency did not have a children's division. So, of course, my mother, in her inimitable way, went up to Eileen Ford and said, you need a children's agency, and this is the baby that's going to be the first face. And they started a children's agency, and it's still going.
Between 1980 and 1985, Brooke appeared on more than 300 international magazine covers. How do you remember those extraordinary years
I loved it. The people that I worked with became much more my family. That sort of bohemian kind of life, it was just my mother and I, and all the photographers. I knew what was expected. I knew what was approved of. I knew what would make me be liked.
Was your mother running this career?
She was at the head, and we were just the two of us, really. My father stayed very separate from my career. I mean, wouldn't even acknowledge it.
God, how did Pretty Baby come into your life?
I think it started off with Louis Malle. I had a full-blown audition and did some scenes from the movie and then just some improv with him, and it was sort of a shocking thing that happened. It was uncharted territory for me, and I struggled with it. I struggled a great deal while doing that movie.
On the subject of that struggle, describing a performance that was as impressive as it was shocking, this is what Roger Ebert, who is a critic I admire inordinately, wrote. Shields, he's talking about an 11-year-old, creates a character here. Her subtlety and depth are astonishing.
I'm going to make you so happy. You're just my kind of man. You really are. I'm really good, you know, Cherie.
Don't talk to me like that, please. Don't talk like a whore.
Well, what do you want me to say? I feel something inside me, so I say it. When you go away, it hurts me. Right here.
You're only hungry, perhaps.
And what's wrong with whores anyhow? I thought you liked us. Everybody says I'm pretty. I'm getting to be filled out soon. And all the other men like me. Don't you like me?
When you look at that and see that little girl, is that you or is it somebody else?
Part of it feels like it's so me, and part of it feels so far away that I almost can't identify with that person.
Keith Carradine plays Hilaire Belloc, and he's photographing it. There's this wonderful classic odalisque on a couch.
And it's an exact copy of one.
But you were naked.
I had my hand here, but at that age, you know, I was undressing in front of people. Like I really didn't know. I don't know. I think 11-year-olds today are much more precocious and probably much less naive. I was very naive. I was very sheltered.
This is what Susan Sarandon, who played her mother, said on our stage when she talked about you in the film.
I think the thing that was so distressing about that movie for the public was that the girl was not the victim, and we've always been